Hello, my fellow chatterers and bookishly minded people, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you're lost. I'm Chatty and welcome back to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I will be chatting away madly about all the books I've been reading over the first 2 weeks of June. So I'm going to talk through a few of my thoughts of those, how I've been doing with the Readathons, and Shardathon finished on Sunday, so I am going to be wrapping up Shardathon and letting you know how I did. Always one shot, no editing. Let's see how we go. I've got notes, so I'm hoping not to waffle. Let's do this. So the first book I read this month was a book that I should have read last month, and that was The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. It's an adult epic fantasy, and it is the first book in the Live Ship Traders series, which is the second series in the realm of the Elderlings. I love this book. I love it so much. It was everything I was hoping for, and obviously I was completely surprised by everything. I had no thoughts or expectations going in. Sorry, child-related need. Thank goodness for pause. So, yes, I had no expectations going into this. All I knew was it was Robin Hobb, and that it wasn't going to be dealing with the characters from Farseer, but it was in the same world, and stuff that happened in Farseer would be spoken of in here, but it's a different part of the world. So you've got the 6 duchies a lot further up at the top of the coast, then you've got the Chalice States, then you've got Bingtown, and then the rest of the coast down there. So we've got this little map here. Always love a map, but one criticism of this book is I want a more detailed map. So here we go, we have the Cursed Shores here. So there we have Bingtown, and the 6 duchies are up there. So we explore all of the area around here. I understand the pirate territories aren't marked, but there were lots of trading ports that were mentioned. And I just like it if things that are mentioned in a book are actually put on the map, because I like to see where things are. It bothers me. I feel a bit lost. But apart from that, yes, I love this so much. It has got a big cast, and you're following various different viewpoints, so it's a very different kind of feel in that sense from where in Farseer we were just in Fitz's head and it was only Fitz's viewpoint that we saw. But we still have such wonderful emotional depth. We have wonderful detailed characters. It's so vivid, this world, her writing, I adore it. I am so happy. I feel so safe in her books, knowing, it's a weird expression to make, but just in terms of the story, just knowing that this is a fully realised world. She knows her characters so well. She knows what she wants to happen. She knows the feelings inside here, the themes that are going to be explored. You just feel like she's got it all pegged out for this series. And that is how I love it. I love it when series are written with an overarching plot in mind and everything is pulled together. It makes me so happy. So from the offbeat, there were characters in here that I connected to. I really enjoyed the, let me pronounce it properly because I always pronounce it incorrectly in my head, the I'm going with Vestrit. I really enjoyed the Vestrit family. By enjoy, there were certain characters in here I like, certain where I could see the point of view and where they were coming from, but didn't necessarily enjoy their choices. But as the book progressed, not just the Vestrit characters, but other characters, it's really interesting to see you kind of sometimes do a little bit of a 180 on your opinions of them. So you approve of one thing they do, then they do something else, you're like, no. So I just love that. I love all of that, how I can swing on characters' decisions. And my favourite characters are the live ships. I love the live ships. They are, I don't quite know how to describe them, but they are very human. It's kind of like, I suppose, like how you would connect to an AI when they're sort of treated with respect in what they do, but to some people they're still seen as a thing, but they're sentient, so they're very clearly should have human rights like everyone else. So I felt very much like that with the live ships. There, we get to see mainly two, but then a third comes sort of more towards the end, and I love all of them. I love all of them. I've adopted Vivassia. She's now my child. I know she's a ship, but she is like my child. I do agree with some of the characters who feel like it's a child you're bringing into the world. We also got to see the live ship quicken, which was fabulous. That scene, so many emotions in that scene. So live ships are made out of wizard wood. When the third generation of that family dies on board that ship, the ship then becomes sentient, and it's absorbed those memories and feelings and kind of emotions of the characters. So it's got certain genetic traits from the people that have crewed it and captained it. But they also have an awareness of people on board their ship. Like, they can sense the emotions of the crew. Not just they usually have one crew member that they are really attached to, and that's their like focal point. And it just, all of this lore about live ships was incredible. There's so much more we still don't know, but I'm so fascinated to just keep diving into this world and just seeing what happens. But yes, I feel very maternal about two of the live ships, and the other one I just want to go out drinking with. I'm sure that could be arranged. I'm just trying to think, was there anything else I want to say before I go into spoilers? Yeah, I also had an amazing time. So this is part of the read along that Anita and Gregory LePerch are doing on Gregory LePerch's Discord. So it's a hom along, and this is actually the May read. They did the live show the last Sunday of the last week of May, which actually ended up being the 6th of June. So I was able to squeeze it in, and I read manically to make sure I had it read before the live show. And it really wasn't that hard because the story is so compelling. I was just racing through this book. I loved it so much. So it was such a fun experience being able to talk on the Discord with everyone about everyone's thoughts. It was wonderful to be chatting in the live show. I had such a great time with all of that. I was so tempted to pick up the next book, and I did actually pick it up and read the prologue and just like the first little bit, just to, I don't know, it just kind of gave me that kind of like, it's almost like a fix, like I needed a live ship fix, a hob fix, and I had my hob fix, and it was like, yes, the story is continuing, it's okay. And then I could put it down, which seems really weird, but I kind of needed to do it. And, you know, maybe I should have just picked up the Mad Ship and just carried on reading, but there's a part of me as well, like, apart from having loads of other books I wanted to read, there was also a part of me that's, I want to savor this series, I want to love it, and I want to enjoy it. So having it paced out monthly feels right, because then I've got the whole month to kind of be brewing over it and just reveling in it and thinking about what's going to happen next. And then the excitement, anticipation of then getting to that next book. It's just, yes, so wonderful time. I do want to talk about more of this. So I am now going to talk about some spoilers. I'm hoping to do timestamps again. Now I've worked out how to do that, so I'm going to do it. But also just, you know, note on the screen, I'm still holding this book up. It's spoilers from now on in, so skip forward. Don't stay here if you haven't read this book and want to know more, because I'm not major spoilers, but I want to talk about more specific stuff and sort of say my thoughts on it. So you have been warned. Spoiler time. So it was so incredible watching Vivassia quicken and seeing the family's reaction to that and all of that. But at the same time, that moment was just, it was heartbreaking as well, just for everyone involved. I was so angry, I was so sad, and that's what I love about Hob, that she can just produce these emotions. And at this point, we really hadn't spent that much time with the characters, but I was fully on Team Aletha. I had a big affection for Brashen, and I was distraught about lovely Vivassia waking up and just being like, "Hi, Aletha, where are you going?" And Aletha's like, "I'm not allowed on the ship. I've got to go." It was so sad. And bless Wintrow for staying. So Wintrow, the training priest, it was lovely to see him and see his character develop and grow. There were things that I appreciated what he was trying to do, but I also appreciated the growth and kind of way it went about. So although I didn't agree with his approach, it was so true to his character that he's not being used to being around regular people. He's been raised in a monastery. Everyone's thoughts are kind of like all up here on the spiritual side of things, not in like empathizing, like practicality stuff. So it was really fascinating to see him learn social skills as well as learning how to be on the ship, but also not sacrificing his values as well. I appreciated all of that. I really enjoyed it. The only thing that I struggled with was when he would say something that would hurt Vivassia. That I was like, no, I can't be on your team if you are hurting Vivassia, because she's my child. She is my book baby ship, and you're not allowed to hurt her. It was just so upsetting just watching her struggle with the tension on the ship, and she's just feeding off all the emotions. And although she has this connection with Wintrow, just he still doesn't know if he morally agrees with live ships because they are not part of his spiritual understanding and his relationship with, I think they call their god Sa. I'm going to say Sa, I can't quite remember, and it would take too long for me to flick through here. But so let's go with Sa for now, but feel free to correct me. And he almost feels like, is it right? But you're just a ship. And he's also fighting. The more he's kind of like trying to push Vivassia away because he doesn't want to have that connection with her, because he doesn't want to be part of the shipping, trading, sailing world. He wants to be a priest. He wants to be back on land, living his spiritual life. So you can understand where he's coming from. So it's just this such conflict of emotions and things. And it's all topped off with a hatred for two characters, but one more than others. And I think everyone knows what I mean. It's just Kyle is the worst. I think he's at my Lycos level of hating. I hate him. I hate him as much as Lycos. That's how little I think of him. It's just such a misogynistic piece of shit, basically. He's just the worst. I love Hob for writing him and producing these emotions. He is the worst misogynistic shit. It's just so bad. Awful. Awful. And I couldn't stand him. And made me so angry. So many things just made me so angry. But at the same time, it was great. So, yes. I enjoyed following all the ships. So following all the different journeys and kind of guessing that we're all going to link up together. I also have a hard time with Kenneth, who I just hate that people think he's amazing and he's just being a selfish bastard. I hate that. But I love his Wizard Wood talking little wrist friend. So Kenneth is a pirate that is only out for himself, but manipulates people into doing what he wants to do, but makes them think he's on their side. And he's got people that think he's amazing. And he kind of gets involved, like trying with his crew, like the way he's trying to kind of get around them and get a higher status and kind of what he wants from the world. He allows them to think that he's doing some good things, but actually it's just so they will do what he wants them to do. And he has this Wizard Wood charm. So we see Wizard Wood not just in the life ships, but also in like some charms and things. Lots of people have them for different things. There's one that's like this magical contraceptive, which I think is amazing. Also gets rid of STIs. So wonderful. Wizard Wood can work wonders. And he has some sort of luck charm on his wrist, and it's this little face that talks in his voice. But that's the only thing that knows he's a poo. So we'll call him out on it. So I like his little Wizard Wood face charm thing. So I like that, but I don't like him at all, and nothing will convince me otherwise. But it's fun having these characters that I don't like, as well as characters that I love, and characters that I'm interested to see grow. So as well as having these wonderful characters on ships, we also have life in the Bingtown port, in the harbour, and I really love seeing the Vestrit women that have been left on land, because I found all of them, although I can see where they're coming from, I found them annoying. But watching their growth, watching the reality hit, watching scales fall from their eyes about certain characters, has been lots of fun. And just seeing them trying to make things work and just getting an idea of the family life. It's just, the way Hob does it is wonderful. We also get to see more characters from the Rain Wild, who are very mysterious. We do not know enough about them. There's lots of intrigue. There's lots of stuff that I can't wait to learn more about. That is fascinating. I'm so excited. Also a character called Amber, who is very, we don't know a lot about her, but I'm really interested in her and her relationship with another of the live ships, Paragon, who is blind and has been through a lot. Oh my goodness, his backstory. Although I'm talking spoilers, I don't want to spoil so much, but yes, his backstory. I can't wait to hear it. There's more to it than we know. There's definitely more to it. And I really want to hear all about that. And I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for Madship. I love this series. Thank you, Robin Hobb, for deciding to write books. Thank you for everyone who decided to publish Robin Hobb's books. I am so grateful. I'm having the best time. Best time. I love this. I love it so much. I'm going to put the book down. So if you've left because of spoilers, there are two things I realised on my notes I wanted to say that I didn't say. Live Ship started after 7 years after the end of Assassin's Quest. So after the action of Assassin's Quest, not the older Fitz writing letters. So that's when this is set. Took me a while to work that out. I wasn't sure. So again, thank you, chat, for helping me with all of this. There was another thing I wanted to say. I can't find it. Oh, the themes. Yes. So I love all of the themes in this book, exploring the capitalism, exploring the politics of trading, exploring the moralities of trading. I really enjoyed the Six Duchies. I'm talking about trading with the Six Duchies. They're referred to as barbarians because their culture is different. So that was interesting. They're barbarians? I think they're barbarians. But according to Bingtown, the northern people, very different lifestyle. So therefore, barbarians. Interesting. And also the themes of slavery are very heavy in this book as well. I think I touched on it before when I spoke about the live ships being treated as things. So that interconnection is really fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to where all of this goes, where the politics go. There's a lot of pieces being set up on the chessboard, and I feel they're about to start the game in the next book. So that has me very, very excited. I highly recommend the live ships. If you've picked up Assassin's Apprentice and been like, no, I can't do it, it's too slow paced, I'm not enjoying this from Fitz's head, it's too much. This has such a different feel to it. Live ships feels very different in terms of there is a lot of plot from the beginning. Like there's more action, I suppose, from the beginning. It's not a coming of age story in the sense you get a huge range across the world and different points of view. So give it a go and see if it's for you. It's definitely for me. So talking about the readathons. So for the Magical Creatures readathons, this was my Kraken prompt because it's Hob, so it was intimidating. I've been on an emotional roller coaster with this book. Absolutely worth it. And I did manage to read it before the live show. So big achievement with my intimidating read. In terms of Whateverathon on the TBR Travellers, this was my GPS. My GPS. I love that prompt. And also it was on a previous TBR. I was supposed to read it in May. It's now June, so that works for that prompt. And easy one, my favourite genre is fantasy, particularly adult epic fantasy. Done. So yes, hitting all those points on the bingos. My next book, after that whirlwind, emotional roller coaster, I picked up, it's kind of like a comfort read. It's my reread of, this is my reread. I'm rereading the Stormlight Archive. This is a novella that comes after Words of Radiance. So it's like 2.5 in the series. So it's an adult epic fantasy, but this is more chilled out because this is just one viewpoint. We're following Lift, who is one of the characters we were introduced to in Words of Radiance in one of the interludes. So we get to know her, we get to see her relationship with Wendell develop. I love that. I am one of those people that really enjoys Lift. I think it's kind of like 50-50. Some people find her annoying. I love her. I think she's awesome. And I love her relationship with Wendell. I just think they're the best. They're a fabulous comedy duo and I adore reading about them. So this was incredibly delightful. We get to see more of Lift, more of her character. We get to see more of an expanse of the world because we get to visit a place we've not really visited before, see what their way of life is. We get to see a character have a change. It's not a main character, it's a very kind of minor character in terms of the Stormlight Archive, but it's quite an important one, and actually Sanderson refers to this in his foreword, that when we go into Oathbringer, one of the characters has changed and it wouldn't have helped the story to have seen it, so it kind of needed its own story in here, and I found it really enjoyable. I really enjoyed this. I found it a lot of fun. It's such an easy comfort read for me. And I think I needed that after Ship of Magic. So it kind of grounded me back in and I was like, okay, I feel ready to read books now after having this one. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Just looking at my notes. Whoop. Yeah, so we're getting a little bit more. Oh, I now can't prop up my pages. I'm just going to put them on my knee. There we go. So so like I said, we know a little bit more about Lift, but it also kind of very heavily hints that there is more to her. There is more backstory to her to come that we're going to find out about because she's unique to some of the other ones in a different way. And that's all I'm going to say because it's too small for me to kind of like go into sort of spoilers and talk about. But yeah, I have a great time rereading Stormlight and had a great time with this. Oh, and my prompt. So it isn't part of my magical creatures. I've got Dawn Shard down as my leprechaun because I'm hoping to read that one this month, as long as I finish Oathbringer. And that's on my May TBR, whereas this isn't. June TBR. We're in June. So it's not in magical creatures, but it could be if I don't get Dawn Shard read. This could easily be the leprechaun because it's less than 300 pages. And in Whateverathon, it's under 300 pages, which is one of the bingo prompts. Another bingo prompt is a book in a different format. This is a novella rather than a novel, so that counts. And one word title, Edgedancer. Tick, tick, tick. Okay, so this is where all my wonderful June highly strategic plans for getting Whateverathon done fell apart. So I wanted to focus. So after first week of getting Ship of Magic down, big chunk of ticked off, I then wanted to focus on getting these two read and then getting on to Oathbringer. So I thought I'd pick up A Conjuring of Light because I'm doing buddy read with Jessie from Jessie the Sleepy Koala and Megan, who goes by Sylvan Princess on Discord. Really enjoyed talking to them about this series. So yeah, so they'd already started reading this whilst I was still reading Ship of Magic, and I was really keen to click those spoiler buttons and see what they were talking about. So I got to part 1. I've already got a load of little bits and pieces in here. Yeah. So I read part 1, which is this much. And I realised I was rant reading. I was getting really frustrated. A lot of thoughts and opinions, and I decided I don't want to be rant reading this book. As fun as it was to offload in our chat, I really want to like this book. I want to be on board for the ride. So maybe because I adored Ship of Magic so much, maybe now is not the time to be reading this. So I can't help but compare it and be like, you wish you were a pirate like Aletha. So I decided to just pause it. So I've paused it. I have lots of feelings about this. I've got a lot of frustrations about this. And I have done a video about why I'm pausing this. So if you're interested to know, there is that video. I don't know which way round I'm putting them up, but it will be there. So I paused this. I was like, I'll pick it up again, maybe in a week or so when I feel in a better mood for it. But because I was feeling so disgruntled, I didn't want to pick up Firekeeper's Daughter because, again, I really want to read this one and love it. So I was like, I don't quite feel, I'm still feeling angry and frustrated. I want to be in a better book reading mood before I pick up Firekeeper's Daughter. So I then decided I'd read a little bit of 3 books that have got a very different feel to them. I know Firekeeper's Daughter is a thriller, it's not a fantasy, but I still really want to enjoy my time with it. And I was still feeling frustrated, so I was like, completely no. So I thought, throwing my plans out the window, I will read books that I know feel really different and see which one I want to go for. So I'd already started reading She Who Became the Sun, so I started picking this up. And this was very soothing for me. It's a historical fantasy. The detail in the world, the wonderful historical detail, made me feel very happy. So I really enjoyed reading about the protagonist in this and seeing the slice of life and her kind of coming of age in here. I also picked up A Court of Mist and Fury because it's a fantasy romance. I thought it's going to feel very different. Let's just get on board with this. It should just be fun. Sadly, I paused this one as well because I just got irritated by the characters. I thought, maybe not the right time. I'm struggling to get on these books and get in them for the ride. So we'll put this one back. And then I was just like, you know what? The True Queen. I'm excited about it. I know I want to read it. It's a historical fantasy again. It's got this light feeling to it. It's got this Regency side to it. This might be what I need. So I started reading this one. So I enjoyed my time reading a little bit of both of these, but I decided to commit to the True Queen because she is on Magical Creatures Readathon. And this one isn't, but fits in really nicely. Possibly if I can get to it, the second bingo board. So I thought I'm going to hold this one to later in the month. So I committed to the True Queen, but as I was reading this, I felt very much like, do you know what? I'm still feeling angry about A Conjuring of Light. Maybe I'm not going to be ready for it this month. I'm going to put that right to the back of the pile. But can I make the True Queen fit the prompts I originally was going to use The Conjuring of Light for? And with Whateverathon, turns out I can. So I had A Conjuring of Light as a prompt to get me to get a book where it was last letter of last book is the first letter of the next book. So Conjuring of Light, it was then going to be The Secret Sunshine Project. But Secret Sunshine Project, The True Queen. So I just swapped them over. So then I started reading this one. It's a very long and involved story, but that's the way I like it. The Secret Sunshine Project is a contemporary middle grade by Benjamin Dean. Now I need to go find the correct notes that accompany this so I don't get too waffly. Marvellous. And I had an amazing time with this book. It was absolutely perfect summer reading. Set in the school holidays. It's very focused on pride, so it just feels wonderful for this month, wonderful for the sunny weather, and the characters and the storyline are so gorgeous. And I think I preferred this actually. I think I had more fun with this than I did with Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow. Really enjoyed Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow, but Secret Sunshine Project, I loved it even more. So we are following Bee and her sister Riley, and they end up having to move in with their gran for the summer holiday. So they're out of London in the countryside. And that means they have to miss London Pride, which Riley is particularly gutted about. She came out to her family last year that she is a lesbian, and they had a wonderful and amazing time at Pride, and she really wanted that feeling back. So Bea decides she's going to go out of her way to try and make her sister happy, and she wants to introduce Pride to the little village they are living in. And it is so adorable. I love their family. You can completely see where they're all coming from. You can understand all of their emotions, all of the difficulties. Their gran is a legend. Sylvie is amazing. She is super. Here she is. There we go. Sylvie is absolute superstar, and she was one of my favourite characters in the book. We meet lots of different characters who live in the village. We meet, Bea makes friends with them. We have this wonderful kind of friendship group. It was such a fun children's adventure. And also there was so much heart in there. There was so much like wanting to support people, wanting to make people happy. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. There are characters in here that add to the conflict, and characters in here that are just joyful. Overall, this book was so joyful. Did produce some little emotional tears as well, I have to say. So if you enjoyed Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow, you are gonna definitely love this. If you enjoy middle grade writing and reading, if you enjoy heartfelt stories, I highly recommend this book. It was such an adorable read. Did I say everything I wanted to? Yeah, it had a really nice village community feel to it. There was a secret plan, which was delightful to be involved in. And also this kind of feeling that change is okay. And you don't necessarily need to know everything that's going to come up in your life, but just adapting to the moment is a really good skill to have, which was lovely. So for the Magical Creatures Readathon, this is my Cyclops. It's a standalone book as far as I know. And for the Whateverathon, this is a recent haul. When was it published? Was it March or April? Doesn't say, just says 2022. It's published in the spring, and I pre-ordered it, and I've got the lovely Waterstone edition with the rainbow edges, because obviously if I can get hold of that, I will. And it was the first book that I hauled for June, so it was a very recent edition for me, so that worked perfectly. And what else was it? Oh yeah, it's middle grade, obviously. And also it worked for one of the TBR Traveller prompts, Adventure or Quest. It very much felt like a quest. Trying to get this project together was a fabulous quest. So yeah, so having read Secret Sunshine Project in the middle, I finished off The True Queen. And again, I love Sencho. I love her works. I've only read The Sorceress to the Crown duology. I know there's a very kind of different feeling to her other books, but I just feel I'm going to love them. So in particular to me, The Sorceress to the Crown duology, they just have this wonderful, light-hearted feeling that I adore so much. But these books aren't for everyone. They are adult historical fantasy, and it is Jane Austen's social commentary, but with fae. So if you enjoy the fae world and Regency witticisms, Regency language, then I feel you will love this. The language is quite important though, because I did kind of dip into a buddy read of the first book, and most of the people in there didn't get on with the language in here. So do be warned. I really love the language. It really speaks to me, but I have read Jane Austen repeatedly, and I also, as a teenager, pretty much devoured all of Georgette Heyer's Regency romances. So I'm very much used to that language. I've kind of grown up with that language, so this was really easy for me to get into, and I was so delighted. I was just so there's something that's so comforting and funny about it, and I just had the best time with it. So it is like reading Jane Austen. It is having all that wonderful kind of humour. Not quite to the extent of Jane Austen. It's not satire, but it was definitely very humour of people, humour of different characters seeing each other and kind of what they're going to do. It had all of that, but with calling out bigotry and misogyny. So that felt highly satisfying. I really enjoyed, there's a lot of strong female characters in here that were highly enjoyable. And I just really love this. I just really love this duology. So it's lighthearted, it's witty, it's fun. It's after the events, it follows on after the events of Sorcerer to the Crown. We do see the characters who were in Sorceress to the Crown, but they're not the protagonists of this one. We get new characters. So we get two Malaysian girls who wind up on the shore of the island in Malaysia where again, I have to check how you pronounce it because I never get it right. I just say it in my head. Mag Gengang. Mag Gengang is a witch that we met in the first book, and she resides in this island that these two sisters, Muna and Sakti, wash up on the shore with no memory of who they are, apart from they recognise each other and that they're sisters. So we get to see Mag Gengak again, who's, again, lots of fun. I enjoyed the characters of the sisters. Muna is a fantastic protagonist. She's very different to Prunella. She is a bit more calmer and chilled out, but she has that same kind of inquisitive mind of wanting to do things, but also kind of being aware of how she might be treated as a foreigner in London. And Muna is also Muslim. It's not a huge part of the story. It's just a couple of sentences that hint at her faith is Islam. So I really enjoyed that. And she has sort of almost like a mystery she's trying to solve. So in Sorcerer to the Crown, there was a lot more of a thriller, potential murder aspect to the book. This one has a different feel. I still really enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the plots of both. I really enjoy Zencho's characters, the writing, the stories she's telling. I just find it a lot of fun. For me, I think Sorcerer to the Crown slightly has the edge just because I adore Prunella so much. I really love her. She's still in this book, but she's a secondary character, and obviously when she's on page, she's completely delightful. I love the contrast that her character has with the supporting cast around her. I'm very fond of all of these characters. So yes, we have more Prunella again. We have more Pogs. We have a little bit of Zacharias, but not as much. And it's a really fun time. So the plot, like I said, is there's more kind of intrigue and mystery than the kind of like thriller, crazy aspect of Sorcerer to the Crown. So it's a really fun adventure. The way the story went with it all, I just had a great time. It was just a really fun time in this book. And usually I love an overarching story in my series where everything has been thought out and it all kind of weaves together and pulls you in. This series is different. I feel because of its fun lightheartedness, I'm just here to hang out in this world and just have individual stories set in this world. That would suit me right down to the ground, and I would be here for it. So if Zencho has more stories to tell in this world, I will be buying those books and I'll be reading them because I find them delightful. There is romance in here. There was romance in the first one as well, but it is so minor and subtle. People who are romantic reader fans would not class this. It's barely worth a mention. It's very subtle, but I enjoyed it. This one has a sapphic romance, which was really nice. And you see the continued story of other people's romance. That's all I'm going to say. And this fitted into all the readathons. That was lovely. And I wasn't expecting to read it this month, so it felt like a real treat because I really didn't think I was going to get around to reading it. So it was kind of nice to be able to do that. And I can't wait to read the rest of Zencho's works. I am delighted to be a Zencho fan. So this fits Hydra with a book with a snake on the cover. and it fits, as I said, last letter of the previous book, first letter of this one, Project the True Queen. It's a continuing series book. Woohoo! I've now finished a duology. Yay, go me. And it is a portal fantasy. We have portals into fairyland. Here we go, 4 books down. And my final book, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. So again, this was just another book that I wanted to read for the Shardathon series. It's in my June TBR, and I thought I could probably fit it into some Whateverathon prompts as well. And because I knew that I wasn't getting to the Firekeeper's Daughter, I thought, well, I need to try and hit a bit more of the Shardathon prompts by reading Percy Jackson. And again, as it's a reread, it was just a comforting read to kind of get me over my slight tricky patch this month. And it was just great fun to be back in this world. So it's obviously a middle grade fantasy. I'm pretty certain that even if you're not a fantasy reader, you've heard of Percy Jackson. It's a very well-known series that was actually published in 2005. So I was quite surprised about that. It feels like quite a while ago, but I thought it was earlier than that. I was obviously older when I read this for the first time than I realised. I have such a nostalgia for this series. I just had a great time with it when I first read it, and it was the same on this reread. I can understand if you're not a middle grade reader, or if it's not quite your vibe. There's a very kind of clear, chatty kind of writing style. It's very much, you feel this is very written by a teenage boy. Like Rick Riordan's a teacher, you could definitely feel teenage boy talk coming out of this book. So if that wasn't working for you, I could understand how you wouldn't connect to this book. But I really enjoyed it. I love this world. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of wisecracks and goofiness and just fun bits and pieces, and I enjoy Greek mythology, so I found it all highly delightful, and I'm really enjoying having my reread of the series. Also, first time I've read from my pretty book, and it just felt really nice. You know when you have a hardback in your hands and it just feels really nice, like the pages, this is really sad and pretentious, but the pages feel really good quality, so I just really enjoyed the feel of them as I turned the pages. So just really soft, really nice soft pages, and always with hardback books, I love that you get. So it just felt really nice, as well as enjoying the story. It just felt really nice reading it in this book format. So yay, lots of fun. So in terms of what I've read this month, so I've read 5 over these 2 weeks, which is pretty good. Admittedly, that was 2 middle grades and a novella, but also a big book in there as well. We'll see how I go for the second part of June. I've continued with She Who Became the Sun. Haven't made a huge amount of progress, but I've continued with it, so I will hopefully finish that one off this month. And I'm not sure about these 2. I started both of them, and I may end up picking them up later on in the year. I'm not sure. I will need to get this. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I want to enjoy them. I want to be there for the ride, but I'm not certain when I'm going to be in that mood. So that is something for me to think about. Doesn't quite feel like it's going to be this month. But that brings me on to now, let's wrap up Shardathon. So it's not as highly finished as I would like it to be, but I do enjoy doing bits and pieces in, for want of a better word, journal, sketchy book, whatever you like. So here I have all my little symbols for all the different books and how they cover the prompts. So as you can see here, the only one I'm missing is Relaine. I did not get to the Firekeeper's Daughter and get that Indigenous book read, because I'd much rather read it and love it than try and force it in just to tick off a point. I still had a great time with this readathon. I really enjoyed getting the chance to do some drawing. It was very therapeutic for me. And thank you so much, Melly, for demonstrating this wonderful idea of coding your books and putting them in a bingo board. I love it. I have so much fun with it. So I have chosen which books are going to count for which prompts. So the first prompt was Kaladin, the Reluctant Hero. Oh, actually, let's pause and get the books organised. So Kaladin was the Reluctant Hero trope, and I read The Name of All Things for this one and went for Kieran and Janelle from this book here, because they sadly have kind of been drafted in as the Reluctant Heroes for this set of stories, although you could argue that they aren't, but that would go into spoiler territory, so let's not do that. That would be stupid. Then it was Syl. That was one of the easiest ones to fill. There were so many books, but I decided to go with Nim, the companion in Rainbow Grey Eye of the Storm, because Nim is just wonderful. I then had, for the mentor trope, which was Teft from the Stornet Archive, is Toku from Sweet Bean Paste, because she teaches how to make sweet bean paste. Then we had Rock, which was read a book with food in it, and I had to go with Edgedancer because Lift likes food a lot. I had to do that one. And then we have my next pile. We then had Dre read a book with LGBTQ plus rep. Again, lots of books I could have chosen, but I went for the one that had the protagonist with the LGBTQ rep in it, and that is The Black Flamingo, because it's gorgeous. And then we had Scar, which was a book that has training in it, and I went for Ship of Magic, as well as ship training and being on board a ship. We also had a little bit of a slight learning undertaken about what it means to be a trader as well. So that is that one. We then have Sigil, which was a retelling. And so I went for Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief because this retells some Greek mythology. And then we are back on reusing. So for Leighton, which was Second Chance, I went for The Name of All Things because I'm rereading the book. So I'm giving the book a second chance in order for me to progress with the series. So it's not a second chance in I never wanted to read it, I wanted to retry it. It's a second chance as in I'm rereading it because, you know, I suppose at the moment the only second chances I've got are books that I just don't want to read this month. So yeah, rereads had to be my second chance. I then had Humorous, which is that one next? I may have gone out of order. Let me consult the list. Nope, I have gone out of order. The next is David, which was Neurodivergent Rep. And for that, again, I went for Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief because Percy Jackson has ADHD and dyslexia. Then we have Hobbo, which is really a humorous book. And for me, I had to go with The Trick Queen because I find this funny. Just in case you weren't sure. And then we have Relaine, which was the one I didn't get to. So we're going to move on. We had Moash, which was the revenge trope, and I went for Long Way Down because Will in this book is out for revenge. And then we have Sprints. Bridge 4 is read a book during sprints, and I watched Sophia's sprint and I read Long Way Down during it because it's a novel in verse, so that worked well. Then a book that was beneficial to you. Again, a really easy prompt, but I have decided to go with The Secret Sunshine Project because I feel it's so beneficial to just have a bit of sunshine, a bit of pride in your life. Beautiful, beautiful. And my final word, not final, two more prompts. We have The Lopin, disability rep in Sweet Bean Paste, as Toku has a disability within her hands. And then Chasm Duty, not Chasm, as I said in my explanation video, Chasm. So read a book that is challenging, and as I've already said before, my challenge was reading Hob, because although I know I'm going to love her, I also know she's going to break my heart, and her books are really chunky, which is a challenge. So there we go, this is my Shardathon. So I have read over May and June, so 2 weeks in May, 2 weeks in June. These are the books I've read that fulfilled all those prompts, and I believe there are 9 of them. No, there's 10 books. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. So we have 2 adult epic fantasy, 1 adult historical fantasy, 1 adult novella fantasy, 1 adult contemporary, 2 middle grade fantasies, and 2 YA contemporary novels in verse. So that's a lot of fun. I had a great time doing Shardathon. Thank you so much to Sophia. I had such an enjoyable time doing this readathon. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed chatting on the Discord. I enjoyed fixing my books to the prompts, especially because Stormlight Archive is my favourite fantasy series, and had a great time doing my little bingo board. So there we go. This has turned into a much bigger wrap up than I was anticipating, because as always, I can't stop talking. So I'm going to sign off now. Please feel free, if you got this far and you fancy giving it a like, go for it. It would be nice. It would be nice. I am quite happy chatting to myself, but I do enjoy knowing that other people are interested in what I have to say. Also, if you have any thoughts on anything I've said or any books you're interested in, do chat to me down below. I do love a chat. And if you haven't subscribed and liked my vibe, click that subscription button and the notification bell, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading, everyone.